Ever wondered why so many of your diets fail despite you doing everything right? Well, after reviewing these two strangers' diets and their eating habits, the problems are quite clear. You see, I saw the exact same habits that cause the emotional eating, the hunger, and the lack of adherence. And these are the exact problems that I've successfully coached hundreds of women through at this point. So in this video, I'm going to show you the simple, straightforward, but game-changing tweaks you can make to your diet to make losing weight more effortless. So let's dive into it and start with stranger number 1. Now, she writes, my weight is 98.6 kilos. I tried Slimming World because I like the idea of lifestyle change, but I've not seen much success. I work with a PT twice a week, but that's limited at the moment due to an injury that may need surgery. I've had a lot of health issues recently. I struggle with thinking about food constantly and rarely feel satisfied. The last few days haven't been great. I've been in a spiral. I started logging my food again to try and regain control. I've been told my health conditions may make weight loss harder. Now, if you know me, then you'll know my take on Slimming World. We disagree on almost everything, but I'm going to try and focus just on the diet itself. So this is her example day of eating. Now, I want to start with her calorie allowance, which I can see is 1,739 per day. Now, for someone weighing just shy of 100 kilos, which is 211 pounds, that's a very, very tight budget. So to put it into perspective, that number is closer to her basal metabolic rate, the calories that she would burn by doing absolutely nothing across the day. So when we factor in movement, even just a little bit of exercise, then fidgeting, housework, that is a very aggressive deficit. Sure, if she were to adhere to around 700 calories per day, she would lose weight very, very quickly. But we need to ask ourselves, what is the cost of a calorie allowance that low? It's like trying to drive halfway across the country with a fuel tank on half empty, and then wondering why you're breaking down halfway through and you don't get to your destination. If she were my client, I would be prescribing her anywhere between 1,900 and 2,300 per day, and this would obviously depend on her relationship with food, how much exercise she's doing, her height, her age, among some other factors. Now, let's talk about the actual foods, starting with breakfast, which was a singular cup of tea, and this sounds like a very sad meal. But having small breakfasts like this is something that I see so often with the women that I work with, especially those who emotionally eat in the evenings. You see, they try to save up or bank calories earlier on in the day because they're expecting to lose control later on in the day. And this sounds so logical, right? You don't want to overdo calories when you're not that hungry in the morning. It sounds like a sensible thing to do. But here's what you need to know. Overeating is caused by two problems. We've got physical hunger and emotional hunger. And if you're just having a really, really small breakfast, naturally you are going to be much more hungry later on in the day, which is going to exacerbate your need to eat emotionally. So even if you aren't hungry when you wake up, try to get something satiating in before 10 a.m. Something balanced. We need protein and carbs. It could be yogurt and fruit. It could be a protein shake with a banana and some oats. It could be eggs on toast. In keeping with the car analogy, start your engine properly. Now, moving on to lunch, you had 845 calories of fish and chips. Now look, I am a Devon girl. I love a chippy tea as much as the next person. And I'm all for you eating meals that you actually enjoy, because ultimately if you hate the diet you're on, you're not going to adhere. However, there does need to be some compromise with this meal. So the first thing I would change is to keep one fried thing, not both, the cod bites and the chips. So you would either have the cod bites with an air fried potato or roasted potato with no added fats or oils on it, or you would still have the chips as they are, but you would make sure that the fish is more lean. So maybe you oven roast that, bake it, air fry it. You'd save a lot of calories picking one or the other, and it's much better for your cholesterol. The next thing I noticed is that with this meal, she had ketchup and tartar sauce. Now, I would suggest you choose one sauce, not two, because 100 calories, if you did measure this correctly, is still quite a lot for not much substance. And the final tweak is just to add more volume with veggies and nutrient-dense foods. A side salad with this or some peas would add volume, it would add fibre, it would fill you up, and you would feel a bit better as a result of eating it. Now we come on to dinner and snacks. Now, the snacks are what stand out the most for me here. We've got cake, crisps and cheese, and there is nothing wrong with these individually. But what I am thinking about is a pattern of grab and go eating. When I'm imagining these foods being eaten, I'm imagining picking, not just sitting down eating slowly, and making a meal out of it. And this type of snacking doesn't help when you already feel out of control. So my advice for this person is to turn your snacks into actual mini meals. Now, whenever you make a meal, I always suggest that you follow something like the plate method and you make sure you've got protein, carbs, fats, and a big portion of veggies. And this is where snack pairing comes in with your snacks. So let's take this person. She clearly craved cheese on this day. Now, stick with the cheese because you want to honour that craving, but pair it with something more filling and satiating. She could make a lovely little cheese board with some grapes for the nutrients. She could have some crackers for some carbohydrates, and then some deli meats for some more protein. And when you do have this snack, sit down, eat it slowly, and actually enjoy what you're having. Make it last longer. And a quick note on the food tracking. I noticed in this diary you've logged a lot of generic foods. For example, there was the takeaway with half portion and then the celebration cake. You see, I want to know what you're actually having. What is the brand of cake that you're eating? How much of that cake are you having? When you're loosely tracking, you're not getting any of the benefit of tracking your calories. So vague tracking makes it impossible to know whether you are actually in a calorie deficit, which is maybe why you're struggling to lose weight if what you're having isn't a reflection of what is in your app. And just a little bugbear of mine, I noticed that in your app, in the calorie burn section, it says calories earned from exercise. Please turn that off. You don't need to earn your food. In fact, whoever made your calorie allowance should have factored in your calories burned from exercise when doing this. But also remember that exercise is great for your health, for your strength, for your capability as an individual. It's not there to earn your food, and equally it's not there for punishment if you do overeat. You mentioned in your intro that you're exercising with PT, so you've got your workouts covered, but the biggest driver of fat loss is your nutrition. So my advice to you is to make the tweaks that I've suggested, maybe up your calories and work on your relationship with food, which is something that I support my clients with too. Right, now we are on to Stranger 2. And she says, my current weight is 74.6 kilos. I haven't followed any diets consistently. I've always gained weight so easily. I've spent most of my life watching what I eat. I used to follow a vegan diet but struggled with weight loss. I now try and eat healthily, cook from scratch about weekends. I go off track. I eat out, have high fat meals, have too much alcohol. I also struggle to hit my protein target. I'm active, I lift, I run, I swim, I do yoga and boot camp. I never know how much indulgence is too much. So let's look at her day, shall we? So for breakfast, she had 2 poached egg and pain de campagne. And to be honest, I had to Google what the hell that was, but it looks like a delicious French sourdough. Now, solid structure here. You've got the carbs from the sourdough, which is excellent. You've got protein from the egg whites, and you've got the fats from the egg yolk, so a balanced meal. And your calories are also in the right range at just shy of 500 for an 1800 calorie day. Generally, for someone eating around this amount, I would say 3 meals of 500 calories and then 2 snacks, 150 calories each, and that would put you in a perfect position. Now, you mentioned in the intro that protein is a struggle for you. So here's what I would tweak. I would half the portion of bread, which would free up 150 calories, and then I would add more protein, and you could do this by adding some liquid egg whites. You could have a side portion of some 0% fat Greek yogurt, or you could have a protein shake on the side with this meal. And I would also look at adding something more fresh with this meal, just to add a little bit more protein and fibre. So it could be some spinach, tomatoes, some mushrooms, or maybe some berries on the side. Next up, we have lunch, which was a good old-fashioned Mackey's. Now, eating out and turning to grab-and-go food when dieting is almost unavoidable, right? It's part of real life. And as far as fast food goes, a grilled veggie wrap and a portion of fries is pretty good going. It was around 500 calories for that meal, so again, you're on point with the structure that I would recommend anyway. But if I were being picky, I would say have a small portion of fries, not medium, or go without it altogether, and maybe have something like the apple slices on the side. And that's only if you wanted to be pedantic about it. But look, this didn't cause you to hit the solid button, so actually, big thumbs up from me. Now, dinner looked like a portion of chicken, leek, and orzo pasta. And honestly, that sounds delicious. You've got your protein from the chicken, you've got your orzo, which is your carbohydrates, you've got the leeks, which is your veggies, and it's a bloody tasty sounding meal. Absolutely zero changes from me there. Just make sure that when you are doing this, you're being very mindful of how many fats you're adding from either butter or oil. Make sure they are being tracked. Now, let's look at the snacks. You had 330 calories worth of snacks on this day, which is pretty good going. Again, it aligns with what I suggested. So there was some yogurt, there were nut butter cookies, there was a chia jam, and a Kit Kat. Calories are fine, like I touched on, but for you, we need to optimize for protein. So the nut butter cookies and the chia jams, they sound healthy and they're often marketed as high protein. but I'd be really mindful of these. Now, they are nutrient dense, yes, they do have a source of protein within them. However, per calorie, they are not a good source of protein because the fat content is also pretty high. So my suggestion would be to keep the yogurt, but double up on your portion size, if not triple it, and then get rid of the chia jam and the nut butter cookies. You've got your Kit Kat, you had the McDonald's, so that should check off your joyful meal part of the day, but this would just mean that your meals would be much more satiating. So here's the thing that I want both of these women and all of you watching to take away from this video. You definitely don't need to follow some restrictive meal plan to lose weight. A lot of you are just a few tweaks away from making weight loss much more effortless. So many plans out there will require you to flip your life upside down, and it may work while you can follow the plan, but at some point you will inevitably go back to what you were doing previously. You're better off just writing down what you're eating and looking for ways to make each meal more satisfying. A bit more protein, a bit more fibre, a bit more veggies, sitting down, eating slowly, actively planning the foods you like into your allowance. So eat in a way that calms the chaos, not causes it. And if you found this video useful, then there are 2 things you can do that would be even more helpful for you. Firstly, stay tuned for future videos. And secondly, head to fatlossfundamentals.co.uk to see what me and my team can do to support you personally.